Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. It's week 5 here. I'm going to go over every single matchup here, help you guys get your lineup set. So I will go over the first 7 games in this video, and then I will go over the final 7 games in the second video. That way I'll just sort of split it up. Don't want to make you guys watch a 40-minute video. Plus, we'll have more information when we get around to recording that second set of video, or that second video. It gives us one more day of practice reports and all that. So splitting this one up, of course, stay tuned for the second one. If you guys do have any specific start-sit questions, as always, just let me know in the comments. I love helping you guys get your lineup set, doing what I can to help out there. Friendly reminder as well, if you do have any players playing in the Thursday Night Football game, make sure that you don't utilize your flex positions. So if you're playing Darnell Mooney, I know he's a flex player, put him in the wide receiver spot. If you're playing Bucky Irving, again, flex caliber player, put him in your running back spot. Give yourself that flexibility for later on in the week in case something pops up. So yeah, a lot of fun games this week. Hopefully we can have, hopefully bounce back if any of us lost in week 4. Hopefully we can keep things rolling if we're on a bit of a winning streak here, and let's just do what we can to get some wins and enjoy some football this week. We got 4 teams on buys, so a lot of things that are going to come up here. A lot of people are really struggling to find some starts, and it's just the beginning. We got a lot more buys coming up for the next several weeks. So yeah, that being said, let's get into the first game here. We'll start things off with Thursday Night Football. We have the Bucks at the Falcons here. For the Bucks, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, they're both obviously going to be starters for you guys. I know Godwin had a little tiny bit of a down game last week, but it still wasn't all that bad. 6 for 67. Nothing to complain about there. Evans should be great. I do expect him to be sort of shadowed by A.J. Terrell. The Falcons safeties and Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons are fantastic as well. So not exactly the best matchup for these guys, but they're studs. You're playing them regardless. Baker Mayfield, he's a streaming option. He's the quarterback 3 on the season so far, so you can stream him. He's not a guy that I'm going to expect to keep up that production, but if you've got Jalen Hurts on by, you could do a lot worse. So keep him in mind for sure. Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, both low-end running back 2s to me. I don't really want to play either one of them. This Falcons run defense is by no means bad, and it's just like you're splitting the work pretty 50-50 here. Rachaad White's a little bit more involved as a passer. We saw Bucky Irving get the goal line work last week. It's just not super exciting. I don't think either one of them really has a lot of upside. So if I get we're all hurting at the running back position, you're probably playing these guys, but I'm not excited about either one of them this week. For the Falcons, Drake London, he's a low-end wide receiver 2 for me. Good matchup against Tampa Bay. You can't really run very effectively against them, so this could be a bit of a coming-out party for London here, but we just haven't seen the usage and the high volume that we would have wanted out of like a Kirk Cousins-led offense, so still waiting there. It could get better as Kirk Cousins gets his, shakes the rust off, gets healthier over the course of the season, but we're into the second quarter of the year, so getting a little bit more concerned there. I think London's just a wide receiver 2 until further notice. Bijan Robinson, he's a must start. You're obviously starting him, but I do expect sort of limited usage again this week. Popped up on the injury report last week with a hamstring injury. We saw it a lot more Tyler Algier than we'd seen in the first 3 weeks, and we'll probably see it again here. He was technically a full participant in Wednesday's practice, so he doesn't have any sort of actual injury designation going into Thursday, but still probably going to see a little bit more Algier than you want. Bijan's still a must start, but you're definitely just, don't expect him to win you your week this week. There's no way I'm starting Kyle Pitts. He's just been a non-factor. I would pick up almost anybody that's on waivers. Tucker Kraft, Pat Freiermuth, Zach Ertz. Those caliber of players are all much better starts than Kyle Pitts, so I'm not starting Kyle Pitts at all. I'm not necessarily saying you have to cut him, but I don't hate it if you want to drop Kyle Pitts anyway. And then Darnell Mooney, he's a flex play if you want to go there. He's technically leading the team in receiving yardage. Looks really good. It's a good matchup. And again, the Bucs are a really tough team to run against. Now they got Vita Vea back. They're going to be a bit of a pass funnel here, so I do think Mooney's a decent flex play. Again, though, don't use him in your flex. Make sure he's in your wide receiver spot, because for those Thursday games, you don't want to use the flex spot here. Next game is going to be the Jets at the Vikings. This one's really hard for me. The Vikings have been really good on defense so far, and the Jets obviously were just brutal last week, so anybody that you played on the Jets side of the ball was a bit of a disappointment for fantasy. Breece Hall still in your lineups, but obviously last week did suck. It's a little bit annoying seeing Braylon Allen be as involved as he is, but Breece Hall is still a top 10 running back the rest of the way. You're playing him every single week. Garrett Wilson, he's a wide receiver 3 for me and probably should be treated as such going forward. Just not that dude necessarily. He's a good player, not a great player. It seems like the Vikings are a really great pass defense and run defense in general so far this season. So not a great matchup here. But again, you're probably having a hard time benching Garrett Wilson. But if you have 3 really solid options, I've got no problem if you want to look for someone else there. Aaron Jones for the Vikings, along with Justin Jefferson, they're going to be must starts this week. Again, I know the Jets are a really solid defense, but both these guys have been too good to consider benching this week. Jordan Addison, he's a low-end flex play for me. Secondary pieces and really low-scoring matchups I don't love. You're going to need a touchdown for that to pay off, and it could work out. He's a talented player, but I'd prefer to look elsewhere than Jordan Addison this week. Then Sam Darnold, I'd prefer to look elsewhere this week. Just, again, really tough matchup with the Jets. I think there are better streaming options out there, but you could also do worse. So if you need him, you can play him. Just hopefully you've got a better option this week. Next up, we've got the Panthers at the Bears here, sort of a little mini revenge game here for DJ Moore. Panthers games are fun again, so that's really exciting to see. Deontay and Trouba, they're going to be must starts in this game. They've been absolutely phenomenal since Andy Dalton's been under center, and I don't really expect that to change this week. Xavier Legette, a solid flex play here. I'd prefer to not stream Andy Dalton, though. The Bears defense is legit. They've really kept teams in check so far this season. I don't expect the Panthers to put up as many points as they've put up over the last 2 weeks, so expect a little bit of a limited ceiling here for the Panthers, and I just don't want to stream Andy Dalton if I can avoid it. For the Bears, DeAndre Swift, he's an RB2 for me this week. The Panthers are one of, if not the best matchups to target for opposing running backs. Swift is coming off the best game of the year for him. I can't imagine really sitting DeAndre Swift this season, although I do still think he's a sell high candidate because after this week the schedule gets tougher, and I just don't think he's all that good. DJ Moore, he's a low-end wide receiver too. The volume hasn't really been there, but he's a really good player. He's still the clear wide receiver one in this offense, and revenge game, it'd be tough to sit him down against the Panthers here. Everyone else though for the Bears, don't really want to play anyone there. Rome Odunze, really talented player, but just don't think he's going to be consistent here. Need to see it on a more consistent basis before I trust him in my lineup. Keenan Allen, I don't even hate it if you want to drop Keenan at this point. He's the wide receiver 3 in the offense, and they're not passing very effectively. Cole Kmet, startable at the tight end position because almost anyone is at this point. You're kind of desperate, so you could go there, but you're going to need a touchdown. And then Caleb, just don't want to stream him yet. I need to see more consistent production and a better matchup for me to trust Caleb going forward. Next up, we got the Browns at the Commanders. For the Browns, Jerome Ford, he's a low-end RB2 for me. It was awesome to see him catch 7 passes last week. He's back to being the clear running back 1 on this offense, but just note that his time is probably running out just a little bit. We're going to see Nick Chubb come back within the next probably 3 weeks from now. They opened up his 21-day practice window. I don't think Nick Chubb's going to be the Nick Chubb of old here, but he's going to eat into Jerome Ford's workload enough that it's just going to be tough to trust anybody in that backfield. So, if you want to look to sell high on Ford, I guess it's a decent option. I'm still starting Amari Cooper in this one. I know it was a bad game last week. He should have had an 80-yard touchdown that got called back for no reason at all. Plays the Commanders, who are still a really great defense to target for opposing pass catchers. I know the Cardinals kind of let us down last week, but I'm still sticking with that. I don't think the Commanders are a good defense. Amari Cooper should be solid. David Njoku, you're starting him as well. The tight end position is just so bad. I can't imagine really benching him unless you've got 2 tight ends. Like I've got McBride and Njoku in a league, so I'm benching Njoku. But you've got to be in a situation like that to bench Njoku. I think he's a top 12 guy. You can stream Deshaun Watson if you want to. Again, it doesn't feel good doing it. But again, the Commanders are a positive matchup here. You could do worse than Deshaun Watson this week. I'm considering starting him in a league where I don't have Jalen Hurts for the week. Jerry Jeudy as well looked good last week. Just a low-end flex play if you need to go there, but the matchup's good. I think he's the clear wide receiver 2 on this team, probably the third target behind Njoku when he's back. But Jeudy's a guy you could flex if you needed to. For the Commanders, let's start with the usuals. Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson, Terry McLaurin, they're all going to be must-starts in this one. Zach Ertz, a solid streaming option. He's getting some points, which is a lot more than some other tight ends can say, so you can play him. And then Austin Eckler, a low-end RB option if you need him. Should be back this week. Nothing guaranteed there, but if he returns, we saw Jeremy McNichols be really good last week. There's a lot of value in this Commanders offense, and I think you can play Eckler if you need to. Next up, we've got the Dolphins at the Patriots. Honestly, this might be the first game of the year, or really in my time doing this, where I feel like there's nobody in this entire game that I feel good about starting here. The Dolphins need to win this game. They're 1-3 right now. They've got a bye in week 6. They need to win this week and then hopefully get Tua back sooner than later. But I honestly have no problem sitting every single Dolphin here. Devon Achane, he's a low-end RB2 for me this week. With Tyler Huntley, it really sucks because Tyler Huntley just takes away the check down opportunities that Achane had, which were sort of at least giving him enough of a floor that you could trust him. But Huntley's a guy that's just going to take off and run with it when things break down. He's not going to check the ball down to Achane. There's no explosive aspect to this offense. Achane just doesn't have any space to operate. So just not good at all for Achane. I think you can play him. He's probably going to volume his way to being okay, but we could see Raheem Mostert back this week. It's just not a good environment here for Devon Achane. Tyreek Hill, he's a flex play if you need him. You're hoping for that big play, but if you've got better options, I don't hate it if you want to bench Tyreek this week. And I kind of don't want to start any Patriots either. None of the receivers have been viable. Hunter Henry, a low-end streaming option, but I don't want to go there. Ramondre is probably the guy you're looking to start, but a huge risk there. He's fumbled 4 times in 4 games. They've talked about looking to Antonio Gibson if they need to. In my eyes, they're probably going to still start Ramondre this week, but if he fumbles again, his job is gone. You hate that. If you're playing Ramondre this week, every single snap, if you watch this game, which why would you? It's not going to be a fun game to watch, but every single time Ramondre touches the ball, you're going to be panicked that he might fumble and lose his job. I don't want to do that, but he's like a low-end RB2 you can play if you need to. I guess both defenses are in play. Those are probably the best plays of anybody in this game. So just a gross game. I'm not really excited about it. Hopefully, too, it comes back sooner than later for the Dolphins so they can be fun again. Next, we've got the Colts at the Jaguars. Really tough to evaluate this one for the Colts with a lot up in the air. They've got Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson both banged up right now. For the purposes of this, I'm sort of assuming that Jonathan Taylor is going to miss this game. High ankle sprains are tough to play the week after. I know they've called it mild, but I bet he misses a week, if not two. So Trey Sermon, he's a low-end RB2 for me. You're playing Taylor if he plays, but I'm just not necessarily expecting that. Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, both low-end starting options for me. They'd get a bump if Joe Flacco plays. This matchup is absolutely fantastic against the Jaguars, and Flacco is a much better passer of the ball than Anthony Richardson, so there's just a lot more upside for those two guys. I think you can definitely play them for sure if Flacco's active. If it's Anthony Richardson, I think they're just like low-end flex plays. I just want to highlight, though, a lot of people are making a lot of noise about how Pittman finally had his first good game with Joe Flacco. He actually had two really big plays before Richardson left, had most of his receiving yardage in like that first quarter with Anthony Richardson, so he did have a big play to open up the game downfield. Maybe him just having Josh Downs operate out of the slot is opening up more downfield opportunities for Pittman in general. So a little bit optimistic about Michael Pittman going forward, but just really tough to really be super optimistic about any pass catchers in this game, or at least for the Colts side of the ball. For the Jaguars, Brian Thomas Jr., Christian Kirk, they're really solid flex plays. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is actually going to be a really solid asset the rest of the season. I think he's undervalued right now. I think he's a decent trade target as a guy that just looks really good to me. If Trevor Lawrence can figure out how to play football in any capacity, Brian Thomas is going to be really good. Evan Ingram probably goes right back into lineups. Again, tight ends have been so bad that Evan Ingram, anybody with a pulse, you're just trusting him into your lineup here. And then Travis Etienne, he's an RB2 for me. Don't love it just because the usage has been a little bit concerning, but I can't imagine benching him. But just keep an eye on Tank Bigsby as well. He's involved enough and will have a huge workload if anything does happen to Etienne. So Bigsby probably needs to be rostered in more leagues. And finally, we've got the Bills at the Texans, rounding it out for the last game to talk about in this video. This one should be a really fun game. Hopefully we get a really high-scoring environment here. For the Bills, Josh Allen, James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, all going to be lineup locks again. I know it was a down week for these guys last week, but you're just trusting them right back into your lineups here in Week 5. Probably not going to start any Buffalo wide receivers here. Khalil Shakir would be my pick if you had to go with one, but he's banged up, didn't practice today on Wednesday. We could see more usage out of Keon Coleman. But it's just tough. I don't really want to play any Buffalo wide receivers until we get more clarity. And Shakir is the guy that we've been trusting anyway, and him banged up. Not the kind of player that I want to trust in my lineup with an injury. For the Texans, Nico, Stroud, Diggs, and Mixon, they're all going to be in your lineups. I say Mixon. He technically didn't practice again today on Wednesday, so keep that in mind. If he misses this game, it would be Cam Akers, but I just don't want to trust it. The usage was a little bit lackluster last week. I don't think Akers is the guy they want to give a workhorse role to. And, 13 carries is fine, but no pass catching. He's going to mix in with Dario Gubawale. It's mixed in if he's active, and they're not playing a Texans running back if he's not. And then Tank Dell, he's a solid flex play, but the Bills have been really awesome against wide receivers. It's Dell's first game back off an injury. You don't need to play Tank Dell if you have him. So that'll do it for the starts and sits video. That's part 1 here. So up next, I'll be going over part 2. I'll just cover the remaining 7 games this week, go over the last players that we haven't talked about, and help you guys get your lineup set. If you guys do have any specific start questions before then, just let me know in the comments of this video. I'll be happy to give you guys any insight I have. Please do stay tuned for that video. It's going to be really helpful. Hopefully we can get your lineup set, get you guys ready to roll for week 5. On Sunday morning as well, 1 hour before the early morning games kick off, I'll be going over starts and sits, last minute injury updates. So it'll be an hour live stream, 1 hour before kickoff. Stay tuned for that one. Make sure you subscribe to the channel that way you don't miss any of that content. And then other than that, if you made it this far in the video, give me a thumbs up. Really helps me out quite a bit. And I'll catch you with the next one. Peace, guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.